Give everyone a second as they join, and then we'll dive in. All right, we'll kick it off. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to today's panel webinar discussion. Where we'll be talking about how to translate data into some winning franchise marketing strategies with this amazing trio of panelists that we have today, which we'll introduce in a moment. And I'm your moderator, Erin Martin, the VP of Marketing here at NetSertive. I'm so excited to dive into this topic because every marketer today is trying to figure out how to better harness and use data, especially with all of the advancements around AI and marketing systems becoming more sophisticated and integrated. So there's a lot of opportunity at the table, but it's really hard to stitch all of these things together. So I'm excited to learn about how other brand marketers can tackle this. And so just to kick off introduction of our amazing panel, maybe Brooke, you could kick us off with a little background on you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke Janasek, and I think, Erin, you're just having us introduce ourselves, so you're not forced to try and pronounce my last name,
Say your
right?
last name.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but I am the CMO at Garage Experts. So I've been here about 6 months now, which is hard to believe, but have over, I'm not going to say how many years, over 20, but 2 decades worth of experience in marketing and about 10 in franchising. So I'm excited to be here for this discussion.
Excited to have you. And you're correct. I did know jumping into it. I was like, it's Janasek, but okay,
Yeah.
introduce themselves.
Yeah.
And Lena, how about you?
I'm Lena Singleton. Hi, everybody. I'm the Vice President of Digital Marketing at Home Franchise Concepts. Home Franchise Concepts is one of the largest franchising systems in the industry, specifically in the home services, home improvement space. I've been with the company for close to 7 years. Prior to that, I've been agency side for over 10 years. So we're very much looking forward to today's discussion.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. And then Janae.
Hi. Likewise on the last name, so I'll say it for you. It's Neighbor Health. I'm the digital marketing director at Head to Toe Brands, primarily overseeing the Lash Lounge, but we also have Frenchie's Nails and Bishop's Cut and Color. So I've been here about 2.5 years. And so, yeah, very excited to be a part of this conversation. Thanks for having me, Erin.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to jump in. A few reminders just real quick. We're happy to answer some questions throughout if they arise and we can answer them. So don't be scared of the QA box. I'll be triaging it and always can answer anything after. And we'll send out the recording afterwards as well. And then just a quick note on NetSertive, if you're not already familiar, we're a digital marketing partner for franchise brands. So as always, if you have any questions or want to talk marketing after this, just hit us up. So to dive in, we don't have any slides today because we have these awesome panelists. So we're just going to start to dig in. And I'd love to kick it off with just how to think about the foundations of collecting data. Like, how do you guys approach it in general and kind of give a lay of the land that way? And so maybe Brooke, if you could kick us off, just chat a little bit about how you think about approaching data, collecting and harnessing it.
I will first say, and I want to acknowledge everyone that's listening, data is something that I have found that everyone struggles with a little bit, like proving that it's accurate, like going to your leadership and saying, no, this is really the leads we've generated. No, this is really what the lead source, the ROAS on this lead source. And so I find that I'm spending way more time in data than I went to college for. I went to college and majored in journalism because I didn't want to get into the data. And now here I am. The joke's on me. I'm in spreadsheets all day. But, having a good CRM, I think, is the basis of it, and making sure that if data in is garbage, data out is going to be garbage. So making sure that your lead sources are very clear, that, I think we kind of have this internal struggle here, and I'd love to hear from Lena and Janae too, like how granular to get on the lead sources. I find that getting more granular to me helps me guide our franchisees better on what to spend their money on. But then at the same time, if it gets too granular and they have this really long list to scroll through, then they just like default to whatever was at the top of the list. So I think just having a great CRM and then making sure your lead sources are clean, and then just making sure that there's maybe 4 or 5 KPIs that you're really tracking that you can report to with leadership. And then as a smaller marketing team, you can dive into the nuances, but leadership just needs to know kind of like the 3 or 4 top ones.
Yeah, love that, especially because that makes it super tangible for, I think, any marketer, no matter what path you're on with data. You know, there's like CDP level projects happening, but then there's stuff like that where, yeah, like get your CRM buttoned up and the data in buttoned up as well. And Lena, how about you? How do you guys kind of think about and approach data as well?
Yeah. I mean, I'm with Brooke. Data is at the center of everything that we do, right? You have to be looking at data and be tracking and collecting as much of it as possible, in my opinion, because there's so many various needs for various stakeholders. So for us, we do like to track things end to end, right? So from impressions and clicks all the way to sale and everything in between. And so you know, we have multiple sources in terms of how we track data. So whether it be Google Analytics is the primary, we have our CRM systems, phone call tracking, channel specific platforms, all of that is fitting into that data set that we analyze. And, you know, as Brooke mentioned, yes, a lot of it has to be high level for the right stakeholders, but then we also want to have the ability to dig in and really understand what's moving the needle, right? Because a lot of the time the devil's in the details. And so that's where that really granular tracking becomes so important to make sure that we can understand what's truly working and what's not working and how can we be responsible with our dollars.
Yeah, for sure. And Janae, how about on your guys' end? I know that you, or at least my sense, knowing you well, is that you've got a pretty good handle on some of those really in the detail weeds of data. How do you guys think about and approach it?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Brooke and Lena said. I am in spreadsheets way more than I would like. I also went to school for journalism and public relations, so how I got here, we don't know. But yeah, I like to get very into the details, and I like, you know, analyzing where the source of our leads are coming from. We utilize UTMs, we have paid specific landing pages that we utilize and like really dig into that. But when reporting out to franchise owners, I take a different approach, which some of them, you know, they want the details. They want to know the exact cost per lead from their paid efforts. But because we all know that the marketing journey is like very different than it was even last year or the year before. So I kind of blend it together. And I'm like, these are your unique leads. Like, let's focus on this. Don't go and try to, you know, track your meta lead into your point of sale, because oftentimes it might not be there. So I try to keep it very high level. And I know that we'll talk about challenges later on, but I like to be in the details, but keeping, yeah, the stakeholders high level, and analyzing it that way has been helpful for us.
Yeah.
I will chime in, sorry, to say one thing, and this might be a question for Lena and Janae, but the attribution models that you use, are you using last touch or are you using multi-touch? Because that is something that I think is one of the things that people struggle with. And I find the oversimplification of attribution leads to bad decisions. And so I'm really trying to get us more to a multi-touch attribution model, but that can be sophisticated for some systems. And so it's just this delicate balance of how do we explain that to our key stakeholders. So I'm curious what y'all are doing.
Yeah. For us, currently, the primary model is last touch attribution,
Okay,
but
same
I'm
here.
absolutely with you, right? I mean, it is so important to look at it from a multi-touch and all that. We are currently supplementing with other things. So there are geographic testing that we're doing with some of our partners to really just help identify how are those specific campaigns that we're running in those geos contributing to lead flow in those areas versus where we're not running those tests. That's been very insightful for us. I think the other piece is the regression analysis that our team has been able to put together to really just understand what is the contribution of various lead sources to the overall. And so at this point, we are, you know, supplementing with these various ways, but certainly moving towards that multi-touch.
Yeah, we also use Last Click. We leverage NetSertive's Insights Manager for that, and that's where we house all of our leads. So agreed with you that the multi-touch and is probably a better alternative and kind of what we should be leaning toward.
Yeah, I think that digital journey to unpack it, whether it's, true actual sales data that's reverse engineered into what did the path look like prior to, or just better understanding your customer and their general behavior and path to purchase is the kind of the other side of how to get at it as well. So I don't know, do you guys have any examples or ways that you're also using data, whether it's just on the research side and information to better understand customers that then informs better marketing, or surveys, or how do you guys use data to kind of look at that digital journey and improve the customer experience as well? And maybe Janae, you could kick us off on that one.
Yeah, I touch on this one quite a bit, at least with our franchise owners. So we take our member lists and our lead lists, and that really helps us inform the correct targeting for the owners. We have a lot of owners that, kind of overlap with one another and are in a close proximity. And so that gets tough. So we leverage those heat mapping, essentially, charts it on a map, and it helps really just provide our agencies like a clear either radii or zip codes that we should be targeting. So I think that's been super, super helpful when it comes to territories that we have multi-locations in. So that's a big one. And then also just, repurposing those member lists, the purchase list, lead list to create retargeting and lookalike audiences has been super helpful. I know that just helps, decrease costs and, really helps us tune in on our audience. So that's kind of what we've been leveraging and providing to our agency partners.
Yeah. And Brooke, how about you guys?
Yeah, we're doing a couple things. So right when I started, I partnered with an agency to do some consumer research on our audiences. So I did first we surveyed our current customers, anyone that has purchased from us in the last 2 years. Then I sent a survey to anyone that had an estimate but didn't purchase from us. And then I sent a survey to our franchise owners. So I wanted to see, was there any sort of gap analysis between what people who purchased from us and who didn't purchase from us, and then the ones that are running the business, how they perceived the brand. Then I hired an outside agency just to do like third party, okay, this is the total addressable market, this is the sizable addressable market. And taking all of that really has helped us shape a new brand strategy, a new brand messaging. So started to put that into play. But the interesting thing is when we started doing ABC testing, primarily on Meta, we did 3 audiences. We allowed Meta to pick one. So we gave them our customer data and said, okay, build this lookalike audience. And then, that was one. Then we allowed Meta to pick one. And then we uploaded one from that third-party data that said, this is exactly who you should be targeting. And that one is winning in 7 of the 10 markets. So it makes me feel good in the investment that like, hey, we really are going after the right people. And it's just such an important note that you have to sometimes take that step back to really, to your point, Erin, understand the audience first and then get that messaging right. And then you find the channels that they're at, and then you kind of have this like perfect storm.
Yeah, I love that. I actually was just talking to a marketer this morning on a podcast about testing via different channels. And she actually was using influencer marketing as a way to test, not just to do the motion because, there's really good traction with micro influencers, but it's a great way to also test some various creative, and you can put paid behind it to get it to, extend some more impressions to get that true test in, but it's another route that you can go for collecting data and testing on what's working and what's not and who you're resonating with on an audience side. So I love that.
And Erin, I think you had a LinkedIn post about this recently of like utilizing Spark Toro to kind of leverage where your audience or where your customers are and what platforms they're on. So it's a free tool. And you just enter in your website and it gives you like all of the websites that they have been searching on and where you should be targeting. Because I know many of us think like, yeah, Meta, Google, kind of your basics, but like, hey, maybe they're on different channels like Pinterest and things like that. So testing those different platforms and kind of seeing what really resonates.
Yeah, it's the curse of knowledge as marketers. We have our like, no, but this is what you do as a marketer, and you get stuck in your playbook of this is, what you always do. And then when you just rethink everything and use some cool tool to be like, no, where do they live? That's where I need to go and test. Like that's the way we always need to be thinking about it. But sometimes it's hard when we get in our always on approach. So, and Lena, how about you guys? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so I mean, we use both quantitative and qualitative data. Always love quantitative, but it's really, I think, important, especially when it comes to customer experience, to understand the nuance behind the numbers, right? Because, you know, you have your A/B test results and it's like, okay, well, this is winning, this is losing, but why? What is the deeper truth behind these numbers, right? And how can we leverage this in the future? So we really have leaned in quite a bit into surveys and customer observation studies and things of that nature. And I think it has truly been transformative for us. Just a couple of examples, I think on the survey side, you know, really just hearing directly from the consumer, right, in their language, in their words, to understand, okay, what is the category look like overall in terms of what are the purchase triggers, right? Why are people considering to buy our products? Again, in their words, what are some of the biggest challenges that they're facing when they're looking for a product or services? But then also diving in a little bit deeper in terms of what happens on our website, right? So is there information on our website that's really serving as a persuasion point, that's doing a really great job, versus are there areas that are causing people concern, or maybe even worse, a reason for abandonment, right? And so kind of marrying all of that together to figure out how do we overcome those concerns. And, you know, I think we've had just some really great insights as a result of that. As one of the examples, is, you know, we're able to figure out what were the top objections for people when they come to our website, right? Like, what are some of the reasons that they're not moving forward? So one was really great to validate some of that, because I think us as marketers, we all have our hypotheses and, you know, beliefs as to why certain things are happening, but it's really great to see that specifically in data or in that feedback to understand and be able to sort of form further testing and hypothesis. But as a result of that, not only did we learn that, you know, what those objections were, we also realized that our sales team does a great job of addressing those objections, but we're not doing that on our website. And so that means that we're actually missing out on pushing some of the people into the funnel, or aiding people to get into the funnel. And so that was a huge opportunity, and I think was really insightful in that not only was it something that was very tangible and easy for our team to address in many ways, but it was really great to see that translate in terms of the conversion rate improvement and the actual impact to the business. So we have certainly enjoyed the surveys and that, you know, some of that customer feedback data. And I think it's so much so that it's become just a part of our ongoing effort, not something that, you know, we sort of do here and there, but just continuously learning and, you know, figuring out how we can use that moving forward.
Yeah, and I love that example, because you're starting with what is the problem we're trying to solve, and how do we bring data to the party to help solve it. So then it's like, okay, how do we take what's happening, digitize it, collect some information, you know, find those key inputs on the website, use a survey, and then be able to figure out what's needed for optimization. I think that's one of the huge opportunities we also have as marketers, related to a lot of the AI, like call analytics, for example. It's like, holy shit, like if you've got like thousands of recordings of prospects and customers talking to your brand at the local level, that is such rich information that we can pull in and learn from at scale with the right tools, and be able to unlock how they talk about things, what they care about, the common questions, emotions. So there's so much there when we're able to take what is existing and almost think about the problem, and then how do you bring data to the party, not necessarily just like, how do we finally achieve this CDP platform that integrates a unified customer, you know, look at the end of the day. Like, we're not all there. Maybe at some point we all be, it's the dream. But in the meantime, we can solve problems with data every day in our pockets. So I love that.
Lena, can I ask a quick question? And Brooke too, you guys are both are sending these surveys. Are they just right after the service or appointment, or is it like a mass?
Yeah, there are multiple. So it's actually very similar to some of the examples that Brooke shared in the beginning as well. So we send out surveys to those who have purchased and those who haven't purchased. There are some additional filters that the team have, has evolved over time to get even more granular to kind of understand some of the nuances. But we also do surveys on our website. So, also targeting folks, did you fill out the form? What are some of your responses to certain questions? And those who did not, how are you answering, right? Also, once you filled out a form, there is a different survey. And again, we sort of filter and target people so that it's not obtrusive, right? So it's really just going to a small percentage of customers, but because the volume is so high, we're able to get some really strong data and learn. So really multiple ways of trying to really speak to various types of consumers, those who have purchased, who have submitted a form versus those who have not done anything.
And you can also do something like an NPS score right after purchase. So especially in your for your brands, like, what would you rate our service? 1 through 10 stars. Like there's a lot of NPS platforms that could do that for you. We're looking at incorporating NPS into like our customer journey piece, but right now the surveys we sent out, this was like a concerted effort, like this is a project that we're doing and we're going to look at the last 2 years to grab. But I would like to do it every year just to make sure that the brand perception is not changing. Because I don't think that survey had been done for a long time, and I don't want to get 5 years down the road and we've missed something that is a critical thing to fix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We send we utilize MindBody as our point of sale. So
yep.
Automated, like leave us a review on Google type thing, but it's not something that I think me as like our marketing department, I know some of them, we review the reviews, but it's like really, we need to pair marketing and ops and like ensure that our messaging is aligning with the feedback where we're getting that on the reviews. And like, that should be a constant type of analysis so that, we're not like misaligning or losing that brand perception.
Right. And with NPS, you made a good point with marketing and ops working together. At a different brand that I worked at, it was great to see like if it was a tax preparation service. And so if, the NPS score was low for, hey, we kept seeing a review that, hey, I showed up and the doors were locked. Okay, ops needs to call right now and get that franchisee like, hey, you need to adhere to our hours. That's just an example, but that's like where that could like come in, or hey, like cleanliness of studios and things like that, where at the individual level, ops can be deployed to fix those things that are like surfacing on your reviews that people will call out if they're not happy about.
Because that impacts marketing. Like if they leave a
100%,
then it impacts their SEO scores. And so it's, everyone needs to be talking in alignment. So
yeah, that's a great example of feedback loop for sure. And then, so now we've chatted a little bit about collecting some data and using it. So where are you guys dashboarding or storing or kind of visualizing some of these? I think this is another one where every marketer is on a different path. Some of us are living the dream with CDPs and full, BI tools that everything's integrated and syncing together. And then, we still live in spreadsheets on the other side, and that's very common. So how do you guys tackle the dashboard side of things? And maybe this one, we can kick it off with you, Lena.
Sure. So, well, I would say we're living the dream. And I'm happy to say
nice.
that
jealous.
That was certainly not the case for many years. So I mentioned earlier, we collect data just from so many different places. And, in the past, excuse me, our team has spent just hours upon hours trying to gather the data, cleanse it, organize it, normalize it, married between the different sources so that we can finally have that comprehensive view to make some decisions. And, it takes a lot of time, especially, for us, we have 10 brands. So if you can imagine the analytics team, it's very additive, right? And so it essentially takes away from our ability to analyze and optimize quickly. And instead we're stuck in these spreadsheets, right? So a few years ago, we've deployed a BI system. In our case, it's Domo, and it has been wonderful. So at this point, the data is automated. So, all of the reports, all of the views have been set up. And so the team is just now, instead of, again, organizing and handling the data, is able to really dive in and analyze the data. And the great thing about it too is that it's not that one or two analytics team members that have all of the keys to the castle, right? But it's really everybody. The entire team has access to the data to be able to look at what's happening and be able to be nimble and agile and make those decisions quickly. So, for us, we're certainly very just grateful and excited about the ability to have this BI platform. I'll also say that, we certainly didn't get there overnight, right? It was a journey, and it's taken a lot of time to get it to where it is. And, we started off with sort of just incorporating the foundational systems, right? So the phone tracking and, some of the basic lead tracking CRM systems, but over time, it has really evolved so that now we do have these channel specific dashboards where, we have, we're adding in additional tools and platforms, and not everything, but, what are some of the key things that we want to see from Google Search Console, or how can we incorporate our Google business profile data? So that, again, for example, I'm kind of touching on SEO is, how can we have this holistic view of a function so that the team can truly just dig into the numbers right here and there and be able to make some decisions quickly, as opposed to try to log into these 10 different systems and sort of connect the dots between the two. So that's been, just, I think, a huge change for the organization for us.
That's awesome. And a great reminder that you can crawl, walk, run.
That's right.
Like you can start with website visits. Like, all right, start with just Google Analytics and pulling that in. And then one more piece that will remove you from manually logging into checking something out. Like you can crawl, walk, run.
That's right. And, we're not done. I mean, it sounds like, I kind of started with we're living the dream, but it's like, there's always more, right? And as you build and build, there's always opportunities. So, I've shared some of the other opportunities we have from the attribution side and things of that nature. So, but it's, again, to your point, you kind of get there over time.
Yeah, if you've got everything in Domo or a BI tool, you're definitely well positioned to get into multi-touch attribution. So you're within reach.
Yeah. Yes.
And Janae, how about you guys?
Oh gosh, I'm definitely not living the dream yet. I'm close, I think. I would say that I have to go to a few different dashboards to pull the data that I am looking for and that I want to report out on. Our franchise owners, they also have they have an operational dashboard via Power BI as well, that kind of houses revenue and other retail sales and things like that. But when I want to look at advertising performance, it's kind of, I know, like I said, I leverage Insights Manager, and that's great for seeing Insights Manager is via NetSertive. So that's great for seeing advertising performance, leads, and those in the weeds type of details that I want to see. But then also looking at calls, that's a different dashboard. And so it's kind of, we are very close in the process of having a one-stop shop for our owners and for me too, to easily pull and export and view that how we want to view it. But right now there is kind of a few different logins that we have to go to. And I know that that's not the best experience, at least for owners. I don't mind. Yes, it would be great to pull it from one, but in my perfect world, I think an ad or a dashboard for an owner would just have a thumbs up or a thumbs down of you're doing well here, not so well here, and here are tips on how to improve this, because I find that they're just they see something is declining or a percentage declining, and I'm you really don't need to worry about that. We're handling it for you, promise it's okay type of thing, and they get hung up on it, and then it just causes them to lose focus of something that would move the needle for them. So I know that that's likely not going to happen ever, but that I would just love a thumbs up, thumbs down, green, red light, yellow, maybe, just for their visibility.
Yeah, which goes back to what is the right level of information that you want to present as well, not just to franchisees, but as a marketing leader to your senior leadership team, like what story are you telling via data, and then also communicating, or your team. Like we all know we have multiple stakeholders to serve, and so that includes other leaders, marketers, and you have to kind of think about what level of data is being exposed to each of those and the story that goes with it. And Lena, just quick question, does your BI dashboard, do you have access for franchisees to that, or is that the corporate team?
We do. Everybody has access. I mean, there are various levels of access, right? To the earlier point that, we want to keep it simple for the franchisees, right? So that it's not overwhelming. So we're always starting with, as a business owner, what information is important for me to see, right? And so, but what is too much, right? And just noise, right? So yes, we do have access for both us and the franchisees. We also are working on granting access to our vendors as well, both national and local. So that'll hopefully complete the picture, if you will, or the circle, in that everybody's operating off of the same data and making decisions based on the same information.
Nice. And Brooke, how about on your end of things?
I think instead of talking about what I'm doing right now, I'll just offer a different perspective since they both talked about kind of more on the living the dream side. So I'll talk about a time when I wasn't living the dream and maybe give some advice to anybody that's on here that isn't living the dream right now, how to manage it. And I guess my biggest piece of advice is decide what's going to be your source of truth and stick to that. Because if you're looking in Meta, and then you're looking in Google, and then you're looking at Hotjar, and then you're looking at CallRail, and all of these things, like they're all going to tell just a slightly different story because all of these places and platforms want to take credit. Like Meta wants to take credit for it all. So it's going to show, hey, through Google Tag Manager, it's pulling in way more sales than what your CRM's reporting. And so I usually tried to, even when I was consulting, tried to say, okay, what's going to be our single source of truth? And with one client, it was CallRail because we felt like, hey, we've got, everything is tracked. We know people are calling these numbers. We know that these landing pages are tracked. And so that became our source of truth. So I think if you're in that stage where you're just like, I'm in spreadsheets and I'm duct taping things together, figure out what's the place that you're going to trust and then really lean into that. And it might be more than one, but for me, I really trust our Google Analytics. I'm over 2 brands, and on the e-commerce brand, I really trust our Google Analytics more so than I trust our CRM because I don't trust that the CRM is actually pulling in the UTM data that I want it to. There's some issues there. So I'm like, GA, even though it's a pain in my butt to use right now, I'm an old school girly. I like the previous one, but GA4 is my source of truth. So.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I almost with that backdrop of how you're communicating the data and story to other stakeholders, if you don't have your house buttoned up and stable, at least up to what you're saying, like this is the master source of truth. Here's how we look at the data. Here's our foundations. Like you're going to get caught in the I actually don't know. Like, why is it doing that? Like, then all of a sudden you're eroding trust from all the other stakeholders because you don't have your own house in order or buttoned up. So,
and I will say I've been in home services for a long time, and one of the brands I consulted on was on Service Titan, which is a well-known CRM in the home services space. I am not a fan of it from a marketing perspective, and that's why we could not trust that as like our source of truth. I was like, nope, CallRail is going to be it because I know everything in CallRail at least was set up properly, and then just sometimes those CRMs are built for truly just managing contacts and not being like a marketing place. And so that was like a hard lesson to learn. But once I got everyone on board, like, hey, this is what we're looking at. Don't look at the numbers here. Then it was a much easier story to tell.
Yes. And yeah, speaking of hard lessons learned, I know one of the things we wanted to jump into was the challenges when it comes to data. And Janae, you kind of alluded to it with franchisees setting the correct expectations. So I'm just curious how you kind of go about training and supporting franchisees and making it simple for them so that, you're working towards the thumbs up, thumbs down. How do you manage that kind of process with them and data?
Yeah, I would say again, not perfect by any means, but we're making slow strides there. So we offer, one-on-one like support via our agencies every month where they can get into the weeds if they want to, or they can keep it high level and just say, this is what we're seeing. And the agencies are like, yep, looks good, or no, need some improvement here. We also do monthly and quarterly town halls with them to kind of give them a lay of the land of the other salons or shops or studios and how they can ask the questions with their peers on a call, which I think has been helpful because sometimes they don't want to, you know, like seem like they don't know what they're talking about or something like that. So they feel a little bit more comfortable when they have their peers on the call. So those have been really, really helpful. I also send, which I don't know if anyone's reading my long emails anymore, but we do send newsletters with performance as well. So I try to keep them informed, and I always keep that data high level. I'm always here to, support them and go in the weeds and like in depth and really review each source if that's what they want to do. But from like a system-wide standpoint, those are some of like the strides that we're making. Again, all ears, if you guys have Lena, Brooke, other ways that are like you've seen work really well with your owners, yeah, please let me know. But that's kind of what we're slowly working toward.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, Lena, how about on your end? Do you guys, I guess maybe to back it up too, is there any common challenges that you see or advice that you'd have for other marketers when it comes to data, whether it is communicating with franchisees or just internally getting it set up? Any advice for us?
Yeah, I guess one is as Janae was speaking, I was thinking about some of the things that we're doing. So for us, again, given the fact that we do have the BI tool, I think a lot of it comes down to training, right? So whenever we do publish a new report that becomes available to the franchisees, it's really about making sure that they understand how to read that. Why is this important to me? Why are you providing this new data source, right? So, really having that training for the network as a whole, but then also having touch points for them to be able to ask questions, right? So whether it be office hours where our marketing managers are attending and, answering some specific questions or having some how-to videos, I think that's been helpful for our team or for our networks. The other piece is when it comes to understanding data and working with local vendors. One of the things that we've done recently is developed a guide for franchisees on how to engage in those weekly, monthly calls. What are the questions that you should be asking, right? Because I think a lot of the time franchisees can be a little bit intimidated because they are not digital marketers, right? They don't understand some of the KPIs, and at times it becomes a little bit easy for vendors to speak about some high level numbers and not really get to what matters, right? Which is how are those leads translating into sales for you and the revenue. So really providing that guidance and coaching in terms of here are the questions to ask, right? And here's how to hold your vendors accountable. That's been helpful. But then also on the other side, really setting expectations with our local vendors on this is the value that you need to be bringing to the table every time that you connect. So a couple of those examples, I think, is what's been helpful for us.
Yeah, that's good. And Brooke, anything else on your end?
No, I love that. And I agree with you, Lena. They don't know what they don't know. And I've had so many conversations with marketing partners to say, just, don't talk too inside baseball. Like, let's just make this very like elementary, honestly. And I always tell the franchisees, like, you should look like on your dashboard, whatever we set up in your CRM, like maybe 5 maximum things. Like if you were on vacation, in the Bahamas and you just wanted to see how your business was doing today and you pulled up a dashboard, what are the 3 to 5 things you need to know? And then if you just really only care about marketing, maybe what's the 3 things you need to know? You want to know if your cost per lead is where you want it to be, if you're hitting your leads and this is a conversion rate, great. And other than that, like if you know that, then things are good. And then if not, call us and we can help you interpret. And I feel like I do a lot of interpreting, which is, fine. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to know all of the like inside baseball things so I can interpret it for them. But I agree with you, Lena, like encouraging the partners too, don't get too technical with them. It's not important. It's just like, hey, this is what they care about. Are we getting the leads that are making me money or not? That's all they really want to know.
Yep.
100%. I think we need to coin that, the Bahama vacation checklist. Like that is your point.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I know we're getting up to time, but I do want to touch on the hottest, of course, topic of AI in general, given the backdrop of data and both of these things coming in hot, basically, as how do we grapple and deal with this as marketers? And so there's a lot going on. I've had a lot of conversations with marketers from just like, I use this tool every day to, oh no, we're systematically approaching it from the company point of view and putting in policies and procedures. So there's a lot to think about. It's exciting, but it's also a shift change of how do we manage through this change and transition as well. And so I know, Janae, you've put some thought around a lot of the kind of approach to AI for the network. So curious what you guys, how you think about and approach it on your end.
Yeah, I love this topic and I geek out a little bit on anytime I see a post on LinkedIn regarding it. I talk to ChatGPT, they, them, like 70 plus times a day. So I use the pro version. And so I don't worry about any like the sensitive information, which leads into guidelines, which I think are so important of I'm a marketer and I work at like the home office support center level, but we do know our owners are utilizing it. And so what are they putting into it? Whether that's sensitive data or if they're trying to, create an image that is off brand. So we are developing guidelines to say like, if you want it to analyze your business data and you don't want to pay for the paid version, remove your brand name or something like that. So it's not accessible via the web. But also we recommend utilizing a paid tool, like start with ChatGPT. We know that there's a ton of other tools out there, like Gemini and Perplexity and things like that. But ChatGPT is like, 101. Let's start here. The paid version will help you analyze things. It's a quick, or not necessarily quick, but like there's no wrong answer really. And so just like get conversational with it. It can really help you with your business analytics or marketing ideas. I think we're trying to leverage it for a lot of like the local events ideas and like competitive analysis too. Like, hey, I'm in the Dallas market. Can you help me analyze my three closest competitors and what they're doing from a pricing level and help me with some ideas there. So, I think the guidelines is step one. We're a little behind on that, but we're developing it across all three of our brands to ensure one, that they're not, I think the main thing is don't put sensitive information in there. And then also don't go around creating images that are off brand. Those are like the two key things that I'm worried about from a marketing perspective. I know there's a ton of other stuff like ops that we're incorporating too. But there's so many ways that it can really help reduce a lot of the items that maybe owners don't like doing, and then help alleviate time that they can spend on the things they do enjoy doing.
Yeah, and I think that's a great shorthand or example for other marketers too. I think a lot of people are scared to put the sensitive information into anything, which yes, like even if it's paid and secured, it's just like your credit card being secured through a payment portal. Like it can get hacked. We get our direct mail every day is like, oh, your credit card's been compromised. So those also can be compromised. And one easy way to mitigate that is like, okay, what's the problem you're trying to solve? How can you put some of the data in that's debranded, sensitive information's taken out so it can still do the analysis, but it takes a hypothetical approach versus you saying like, hey, this company with this type of revenue or, all the specifics, like don't dump your personal diary into it. That's a great way to go around it. And I know, Brooke, you had a really awesome example of being able to use some of that data analysis approach and AI for some competitor information too. So I don't know if you had any other ideas or wanted to share that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we're working on that I'm going to hold closer to the vest, but I will talk about some things that we've done in the past. I'm very bullish on AI. I think AI only enhances business outcomes. It's not going to replace our jobs. It's going to replace people who aren't using it. And so there's a lot of things that we can do as marketers to help us be more efficient. We created an AI agent to go out and scrape all of our competitors' reviews, and it puts it into a Google sheet for us. And then I told it to create basically a sentiment analysis. So then I can start to see what are our competitors getting dinged on so that we can sell against it. So if our competitors are getting less than 3 stars, what is the sentiment of those? And why? Is it because they're not cleaning up after themselves when they leave? Is it because they don't show up on time? And then that's intel for us that when we go into a home and we're selling against that competitor, we can use
So
that to our
good.
advantage. And then the other thing that we're looking at is just you know, how can call center AI is everybody's talking about that. You can assign values to your phone calls now. So if you don't book an appointment, it can immediately ping somebody and say, hey, you just missed a $4,500 job. Like that goes to the top of the list versus somebody that was only interested in this product. So that was like, that call is worth $750. So it helps us prioritize like from an inside sales perspective. So I think there's just all these different things that people are just like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. And it can just really make your job a lot easier. And then the final thing that I do is I created custom GPTs in our brand voice for all of our brands. So that when the team is struggling with something and they write it, I'm like, just throw it through the custom GPT to make sure it's on brand voice, because sometimes you can stray from that. And it's just a great checks and balances to make sure that you are staying true to who you say you want to sound like.
Yeah, and that's a great crawl, walk, run example too. Like you can start with your own marketing team and ensuring that you're all using in the same way. And then you can approach with the leadership team, work with stakeholder guidelines. Like, you know, that's a great example. And Lena, how about you guys?
Well, I love those examples and they're so inspiring and fun. And I think
Yes.
that's the fun part about AI is just,
Yeah.
I think all of us are experimenting and trying to find new ways of using it, right? And I think that's kind of part of it is, you know, whenever we're working on something, it's like, can I use AI to, you know, be a co-pilot in this or that, right? And so just a couple of examples. One, I think one of the more recent ones is you know, we often analyze our category demand, competitor demand, our own demand, right? And understanding what are those trends looking like. And again, doing that across 10 brands is a bit time consuming. So, you know, we leveraged AI to help us splice up the data in all sorts of ways. And it was wonderful because just the speed is, you can't beat that, right? And, you know, obviously it's not something you just completely rely on AI, but it's a great co-pilot to really speed up that process. So that's one. I love Brooke's example around customer reviews. That's another one that we've been exploring as well. And it's really great in that it's not just like, here's an output, but what I love about that too is that you can interact with it, right? And, you know, what is the customer's sentiment around warranty or return policy or this product or that product, right? And, you know, you can get some of those insights in a matter of seconds that would have taken you hours and hours of research before. So definitely a great one. The other one that we're exploring right now is the more recent deep research capabilities that both ChatGPT and Gemini have, and those are fantastic. I mean, you know, I think just there's so many opportunities that are still to be explored and understood in terms of the type of marketing research that those properties can do in just a matter of minutes, where, you know, in the past it would have taken hours again, or another agency or a research firm to do that for you. So just lots of great opportunities and applications.
Absolutely.
I was at a conference, sorry. I was at a conference in February where OpenAI was there, and they said that when they first started, they were iterating quarterly, and then they were iterating monthly, and then weekly, and now it's daily. So like and nothing has ever, like, no technology that we've ever seen has iterated that quickly. And so something that they roll out today can change tomorrow. It's just like, it's mind blowing how fast it's moving and how much better it gets every single day. And so if you don't get on board now, like, you're going to be so far. And this isn't like, oh, I'll wait and see. It's like, no, it's here. Like, you see it, like, there's no waiting, just do it.
Yeah. It's already old. You're going to log in and everything will change again. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, 100%. I think that's not to open up a whole new worms of discussion, but similar to kind of, you know, Google's dying. It's like Google is rapidly innovating and there is a lot of people still searching on Google. Like maybe there's a day down the line, but you can't discount the fact that they have a lot of money and some massive innovation happening on their end as well. So don't count them out because they're starting to get at that same pace too. So a lot of fun things. And you guys, I like want to jump off here and go play around with Perplexity and a million other things right now after talking with you ladies. So thank you so much for joining and sharing all of your insights. It was very inspirational masterclass with you guys. So appreciate your time, and thanks for everyone who joined live or maybe watching this later on demand. We hope everyone has an awesome rest of the day and have fun out there playing with Perplexity and Chat GPTs of the world. Thank
Thanks.
you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.